So I'm playing a little bit with the new pack stove, and let me explain to you what I'm doing. So see, in my minimalist nomad life, this stove becomes like my pot stand when I'm using either the Sterno Inferno, or now probably it will be this stove. And I will have to, because of the holes down in that lid, I probably will have to be careful that I have it in a sturdy place. It doesn't really, it's not unstable, just if I put the high points in a good spot. So anyways, my Sterno Inferno stove, which is this little stove, has a little slot for this gizmo, which is an on-off. Where did I put it? It's actually this. It's like a simmering lid for the Sterno can. And it came with the Sterno Inferno. Now, some of the alcohol stoves, like Esbits and Trangias, have a little simmer ring on top of them, and they're very similar. They're just attached with a rivet to the top of the brass alcohol stoves. So I was looking for a way to use this function, and it won't fit in the stove, and there's not one of the air holes large enough to use this ring, and if I turn the stove upside down, it doesn't work either. Anyways, that's just one thing. Now, I use these Sterno cans inside the minivan when I'm cooking every day, and to boil water and make eggs and things in a fry pan and do basic stuff. Okay, and I get pretty creative with my cooking. So I tried this. Okay, I tried this first with the pack stove upside down this way. Right? And when I put this over the top of this kind of Sterno stove, there is an awfully large gap between this and the pot stand. And this being the pot stand, none of my pots, well, this one actually fits down in there. It's a little tight. I'd have to push it some, but not much. You just got to wiggle it a little. And this Sterno Inferno pot has a heat exchanger in it, which makes it really nice. I probably won't do that with it. But because of the space here, I would not use this kind of Sterno can this direction on this stove. And then if you turn it upside down like this, of course, it sits on top of the can and that's not smart either. So, that being said, let's take this back out. Okay, here's the little pack stove again. I would place this here. Now, with their pot stand, that would have, with their pot stand in place, that would have your pot about an inch above this kind of Sterno stove, which is the best burn on this, Sterno can, which is the best kind of burn with this kind of can. But what's the point of putting this down in here if I'm using a larger pot? Because, for example, with this, which is an old Ozark Trails set, I showed you this pot earlier this morning, if I set that right on top, it's not on the pot stand. It's on the outside of this, which can hold a pot, according to Simple Theory gear. We'll take this off. This could just rest up on the top, but I'm looking at doing something totally different. I have a Fox brand. I'll have to look this up again. I think it's just called a Fox stove ring from off of Amazon. And I've been using this with the Sterno Inferno. And what I find is if I put this on top of this pack stove, it fits on the highest, thickest points. I don't know if that's the right way to say this, of the top of the stove. So rather than being on the weaker spot, which is these points that are adjustable for the the pot ring they gave us to screw into. It is on the, so it would be just a little more sturdy and strong. So now this pot fits really good on top with no trouble. And as well, I borrowed Candy's new fry pan, and her big fry pan fits right on top of there pretty well too. So I think that's the way I would try to use it to start with. And then this will get really hot. I've had this pot stand, well, you can see from the burn signature marks on it. I've had this really hot before, and you will not pick it up with your fingers. It will burn the crap out of you. It takes a couple of minutes for it to cool down. But I could then either use the lid to put the flame out, and I have before with a pair of pliers just dropped the lid inside, but in the hole of this, and kind of wiggled it around with my spoon. I've done that to put a fire out. Or you can just carefully pull off the hot stand and use the lid to put it out, or use this thing with the handle in its upright position to put the fire out. But I wouldn't be able to use it as a simmer ring, because there's no way to stick this in here, or there's no way to use it as a simmer ring. That would be a nice feature to have, because I like using the simmer ring on, I used to have an Esbit alcohol stove with a simmer ring on it, and I really liked using it. So I'm a little disappointed that I can't get that in there, but it's still going to be useful. So I'm going to let the guys know about that. And I think that I would prefer to use the Fox pot stand, Fox ring, whatever that thing is, between the pot and the stove, rather than to just set the pot on top of these. I would rather have it rest on something a little more stable, and especially in the case of the fry pan. Now, my little breakfast fry pan, my little egg fry pan that I use all the time, it's still, the handle weighs it down, and I should probably, I should probably have somebody cut my handle off and change the way my handle works on this fry pan, because I've been using it for so long, but I don't. And I will use it with this ring as Fox ring, whatever this thing's called, this pot stand. Okay, if I could get coordinated. There we go. If I do it like this, then this will still go on, but of course still the handle is, I'm sorry, I didn't have the camera on that the whole time, but the handle's a little heavy on this, so you have to balance it with the edge that has the handle over one of the star points of this ring, or otherwise it tends to flip. And so that's a balancing act. Okay, well, that's just a little extra stuff I'm going to tell you about that, and we will play some more later. Keep it simple, people.